YouTube, what the crap's going on? Heir of Carthage here. I've got another replay for you. This time it's going to be a battle of the elves. Yes, dark elves versus high elves. I almost said wood elves. That'll be fun when all the elves are in, and then you could have like a free-for-all elf battle. That might be fun. See who's like the king of all the elves. Yeah, so I'm going to roll dark elves. I'm going to put it into slow motion real quick so that I can introduce you to the armies. This army, I've got a unit of dread spears on either flank, which is just kind of a standard spear unit, low tier. I've got 4 Black Art Corsairs mixed in with 2 Witch Elves. So Witch Elves can cause enemy units to rampage, and they have Frenzy. Very low armor. Black Art Corsairs have pretty good armor. Basically, my army is dedicated to anti-infantry, more particularly good against unarmored infantry. I've got 2 Cold One chariots, which are a missile chariot that I'm also hoping to use to disrupt infantry formations, because I expect the High Elves to be bringing plenty of bows. I've got 2 Cold One riders with spears, which are an anti-large cavalry unit here, anti-large and armor piercing. And then I've got a Dreadlord with a crossbow up on a black dragon. So that's going to be my army. I do have one other unit that's important to point out. I have this sorceress of dark sorceress, so she's got the dark lore, which right now I'm packing Blade Wind, and then I'm trying to remember the names of the other 2 spells. Give me just a second, we'll hop on it here. It's Doom Bolt, which is a bombardment, and then I have Soul Stealer, which is a damage spell that will take hit points from a single combatant and give it to your caster, which is pretty cool. The High Elves, I almost said Wood Elves again. Good grief, man, I'm gonna have to get used to this. So the High Elves have a lot of archers, as expected. There's 2 Lothern Sea Guards with shields up front with 2 spearmen. In the back, he's got 3 more archers. He's got 1 Ethelmar chariot on that flank, 2 White Lions, and he's got a Phoenix Guard, Illyrian Reaver, a Dragon Prince, and then Tyrion is his lord. No mount for Tyrion. I decided to do a missile attack right off the bat because his Dragon Princes were vulnerable. And so I did a Dragon Breath attack on them and caused a lot of damage. And then I'm going to drop a Blade Wind right in the middle of his formation. This is an overcast Blade Wind, so it'll last longer. And this is basically me trying to break up his formation and get ready for an infantry fight where I expect my Dark Elf infantry will be better than his. I'm going to charge straight in with my Cold One chariots. This is somewhat suicidal because it's uphill, but you can see it gives my infantry really good charges, except for right here where he gets his Illyrian Reavers in, but they'll get overpowered because the Reavers don't have enough armor. So another missile attack, and his Dragon Princes are already reeling a little bit, and you can see his front lines get hit hard by all my Dark Elves. I have to recharge my magic. But yeah, see the Witch Elves here are causing this unit to go out of control, so he'll lose control of some of his units. One of my chariots broke through. The other one is going to get bogged down and destroyed. It's lost control already. But you can see these certain blobs here that I've set up. I'm in good shape. I'm a little slow to react because I keep misclicking. I'm still getting used to exactly the way the clicks feel here, but I should have had this Cold One Rider. I tried to command it to come over here. Got a misclick, so his Dragon Princes are going to get through and land a devastating rear charge over here. I'm going to bring in my Lord to do some work. A little bit risky to bring him down into combat, but at the same time I'm trying to quickly help break up some of these High Elves. But a lot of his archers are up here and they need to be intercepted, so I'm going to bring the Cold One chariots through. It is a missile chariot, but I found it to be pretty effective against light infantry as well. It does have armor piercing damage too, which helps because some of the High Elf archers do have decent armor. I just got the Murderous Prowess here, so that's giving me a buff to some of my stats right now. You can see in the infantry fight, these White Lions are going to be a tough one. My infantry's really not going to be great at fighting them. My chariot, though, doing a good job, but here my Dreadlord gets bogged down while I'm trying to click elsewhere. I'm trying to bring my Cold Ones in to stop his Dragon Princes, and I've still just continued to misclick here. I do get my Lord out, and I think eventually I get a chase going, or maybe I just move around to a flank. I don't know. I've just let his Dragon Princes go way too crazy. And then his archers here are putting some pretty good work on me, but I'm going to use a Dragon Breath attack here too to put a lot of hurt on the dragons real quick, and then my chariots are going to come in to finish the job. I'm going to use some magic missiles here on that melee blob, so my Dreadlord's already racked up 100 kills, but he's taking extensive damage. The good news is despite all my misclicks, I finally get the Dragon Princes where I want right here, and my Lord and my caster have caused so much damage that the enemy army is in rough shape at this point because Tyrion is just on foot, and he's not going to have a good way to catch my Dreadlord. And my chariots really can't be stopped by him at this point because he's lost his reavers and his dragon princes. So despite a lot of mistake clicks, over here I lost control of my cold ones. I dropped another blade wind here, and it didn't go in the direction I needed it to, unfortunately, because there was a delicious blob of infantry right here. What might have been good here was just to use that bolt, because all these guys are packed up into a small area and it has a small strike area. I decided to do a rear charge here real quick, use some of the melee prowess of my Dreadlord, which is pretty significant. But I don't want to get bogged down in this combat too long. I end up getting bogged down some, but fortunately I'm able to kind of bounce my way around in here. We caused a couple of spearmen to rout, broke up that blob a little bit, and then over here some Black Ark Corsairs and Dread Spears are just finishing up business. His archers continue to come back from routing, and I need to get rid of them, so I'm using my chariot for that, and I was thinking about using my cold ones, but my lord is getting stuck in combat, so I'm going to use the cold one spear riders to help free my lord. Going to bring in a charge here while my lord gets away. Those Phoenix Guard, they're pretty tough. So now I've got the High Elves surrounded right there, and that's going to break some of their units. You can see that their Phoenix Guard are rampaging because of the presence of the Wood Elves. Or, Witch Elves. Good grief, man. Anyway, I'm a little slow again on my micro. I'm going to go ahead and bring these guys back over. My Dreadlord is almost dead, but he's done a ton of work. He got 138 kills, and he can now keep himself plenty safe from any regrouped archers. And really, it's just kind of a mop-up operation at this point, using my chariots, which this unit that broke through managed to get 116 kills, and it's been quite effective for me. None of my infantry has done anything too great, because they ended up getting rear-charged, a lot of them, by, what do you call it, the Dragon Princes. And then also, we had an issue where my infantry came up against armored infantry, like these White Lions. And honestly, they're not intended to fight stuff like the White Lions. My infantry here did not have enough armor piercing, so I relied on my support units like my Spellcaster, my Chariots, and my Cold Ones. This Dreadlord looks freaking awesome. Breath attacks on Dragon are really good, and the Dreadlord is a somewhat skirmishy unit, kind of like the Glady. This Dreadlord is. There's two versions. You can get the sword and shield version, or you can get the skirmishy version. I probably should have used this skirmishy one to a little better effect here, but I'm not super upset because I did get a lot of very important kills, but I just about mismanaged and lost him as well. Yeah, this is the only real downside to Cold One Knights. They're really good, but they can go out of control, so that they're kind of a risk-reward. Over here, the Chariots and the Black Ark Corsairs combining to wipe up a regrouped White Lion unit. So those guys are going to get wrecked. And then the only thing that's really left here is Tyrion, and my Dark Sorceress came back just in time. She can use that spell, which is exactly what she's going to do. This is a direct damage spell that sucks life out of Tyrion, and it's going to give it back to my caster, so you can see that she actually starts healing here to a pretty good degree. And then Tyrion starts losing, but he's going to he's still got some life left, but my Dreadlord's going to come down and help knock what life is left in him out. So the Dreadlord gets a good charge. That's going to rout Tyrion and lead to the eventual break of the High Elves here. So able to defeat the High Elves in this one. Lots of mistakes on my part. I'm going to have to work on the clicks. For some reason, it just feels a little different. Like, I don't know exactly how to put my finger on it. Maybe it's just me stinking. I mean, that very well could be the case. But the clicks feel a little different. Like, sometimes I swear I'm selecting a unit and it's not registering or something, so it's kind of odd. Like I said, it could just be me, so I'm not painting it out that it's definitely the game. It could just be me getting used to it. But in any case, you can see again the infantry, nothing special. Like this Black Ark Corsair did okay, so did this other one, but most of my infantry was pretty busy getting pooped on. But again, we did successfully a couple of things, even though I had a lot of micro mistakes. We did successfully completely disrupt his formation before my infantry charge, which allowed my infantry to get good charges. The reason why some of these units like these two didn't do good in the long run is because I allowed this Dragon Princess to just crush them with a punishing rear charge. 80 charge bonus, yeah. No wonder my guys got wrecked right there. You can see, though, that Blade Wind came in handy. The first one did. And then my Sorceress ended up with 68 kills and caused a lot of damage. And then my Dreadlord, 139 kills coming in on the top here. He did pretty good. Well, yeah, just barely. This Cold One Chariot picked up a Chevron and 131 kills. Look at this one, though. This This Cold One Knight here picked up 2 chevrons, so even though it didn't get a ton of kills, it must have gotten a lot of work done. This one went crazy a little early and didn't do as good. So anyway, hope y'all enjoyed that one. Let's talk a little bit about some of these Dark Elf units that were involved in the battle, because as is going to be the custom for the first couple of weeks here, we're going to talk about different units and their abilities. So let's talk about the key units that participated in this battle. So that would be my Dark Sorceress, my Dreadlord with the crossbow. Here's the Dark Sorceress, and then also we'll take this Cold One Chariot, and these will be the focus for the discussion today. So this Dreadlord with sword and crossbow, in terms of his statistics, you can see it over here. He does really good missile damage at a fairly limited range of 125, but the missile damage has a lot of armor piercing, so it's going to be good if you're able to single out an enemy lord. So like if an enemy doesn't have skirmishers to help go after your Dreadlord, they're going to be in trouble. He has access to quite a few mounts. The Black Dragon gives him really good melee attack right here. And then the Dark Pegasus would basically just give him the mobility, pretty solid weapon strength and everything, and he'll be a lot faster at 105 speed, so that'll make him fast. You can keep him on the ground on a Cold One, crack open a Cold One. That's going to be the joke forevermore here. It gives him armor piercing melee attacks, which is always handy to have. So he would have armor piercing missile and melee attacks, and then you can see here at 68 speed. You could put him on a Dark Steed, which would give him 92 speed. He does not have armor-piercing attacks melee-wise, but he does have armor-piercing missile attacks still. So those are the options for the Dreadlord. In terms of abilities, I used all of the abilities in this one. I don't think that this one ever came in handy because I wasn't ever sitting around my own. I didn't have any other archer units, but there was nothing else for me to spend my money on, so I left it turned on. So this one just gives reload skill to anything within 40 meters. So if you did have like some Reaper bolt throwers or some crossbows or something else like that, keeping your Dreadlord next to them could help buff them. Foe Seeker, we've seen this before, just gives them extra speed and vigor. And then this volley of dark arrows is a magic missile similar to the arrows of Kurnos. It has limited uses in the battle, and it's a lot of fun. When you put your Lord up on the dragon, it of course gives him a couple of breath attacks from the dragon, and dragon breath attacks are extremely good versus blobbed infantry. Extremely good. You can give him this Pearl of Infinite Bleakness, which will make him immune to psychology. But I think when you end up on the dragon, that'd be pointless, because if you cause fear and terror, I don't think you can fall to it either. I could be wrong, but I don't think you can. So you wouldn't need that if you were going to be on the dragon. But that's a cool ability to have otherwise, just in case. And then this one right here gives 20% armor-piercing missile damage to anything within a 40-meter radius. So again, if you're going to put him on foot or down with the army, and let's say that you got a couple of these dark shards, for instance. So we throw a dark shard in here, and if we look at their missile damage, their armor-piercing damage is 11. So if they got a buff to that from this ability here at 20%, so you get like another 2 or 3 armor-piercing, somewhere in that neighborhood, probably 2. And that's not bad. I mean, that's a pretty nice buff there that you get, because armor-piercing damage goes a long way, especially against expensive units or lords or other stuff like that. So that's kind of a cool ability that they have. Now, the Dark Sorceress is another interesting one. That Dark Steed and the Cold One are still there, and then the Dark Pegasus. So she can be on foot, fast on the ground, slower, and a little more powerful on the ground here, because again, that Cold One imparts armor-piercing melee damage, which that's a pretty big deal. And then the Dark Pegasus just gives her speed and puts her up in the air. When we look at spells here, the lore, Dark Lore here, I guess, Lore of Dark Magic is what it's called, has Power of Darkness, which is a way for you to increase power reserves and your recharge rate, but it damages you. I don't know exactly how much damage it causes. I need to go study that. It only can be used 3 times, but I mean, that's kind of cool. Chill Wind is a wind spell. I haven't gotten a chance to test all the damage on this. It's pretty low magic, so I would expect that it probably doesn't cause massive damage. It does impart frostbite for 20 seconds, though, which really slows down enemy units and takes away a lot of reload skill. So it could be an interesting way to break up an enemy charge or skirmishing. Word of Pain is can be used on a single enemy, and it'll basically debuff the crap out of that unit for 40 seconds on either accuracy or melee attack, or I guess both if it's something like a Lothern Sea Guard. So that could be another one if you needed to debuff like a certain unit on the way in. If you overcast it, it adds impacts to melee defense. I could see this one actually being pretty good at debuffing an enemy lord or a key unit like a Phoenix Guard or something else like that. But I mean, it's a lot of magic to spend on such a thing. Blade Wind is one of my favorites. It's a really good vortex spell. It does go all over the place. When you overcast it, it lasts longer. And it's really good at blobbed up. Like my opponent there had a very tight formation, so the Blade Wind was very effective at disrupting and damaging his formation. Doom Bolt was the one I didn't get to use here. It shows, and it says that it's a homing missile, which is pretty crazy. I need to do some testing on this one. It says it's good against either a single combatant or a single unit, but I'm guessing where I had those 2 or 3 units all blobbed up in one, that it would have been effective to just drop in the middle of that blob, because I think the reason they say that is because it doesn't have a large strike area. It's a very small strike area, which is what it says there. Soul Stealer is the one I used at the very end of that battle where we sucked the life out of Tyrion and gave it back to our caster. It says it's best versus a single combatant, so it shows them casting it on this unit here, but it's going to be best against that single combatant. So that's the Dark Sorceress, and in terms of items, she has this Hex of the Winds, which you can use on an enemy spellcaster to slow down their recharge rate for almost a minute. I don't know, maybe it'll be useful, maybe not. And then this one right here, this Dark Star Cloak, which is a constant improvement recharge rate. I probably should have tried using that in the battle. It's only 52, and I totally could have traded this ability over here on the Dreadlord that I didn't use for that one, so that was a mistake on my part. The last unit is this Cold One Chariot, so let's talk through the pros and cons of this thing. They can rampage. It's an armored unit, so you're not going to die really quick from light archer fire or something. It does really good missile damage at 102 and armor piercing. I haven't really sat still, though, to let this thing just fire missiles and see how good it does. It doesn't shoot very many missiles, but you can see that there's armor piercing anti-infantry weapon damage when you get into combat, and that's what I really like, plus the 60 charge bonus and decent mass. I think it makes the Cold One Chariot a decent option to break up enemy formations. Again, though, you got to be careful of the rampage. It does cause fear as well. So those were the key units in this battle and how they played in. So the support units that I used, they definitely helped me win the battle in this case. If you have any other questions about those units, let me know. I'll see what I can tell you in the chat, or if you've had some experience using them, tell me what you think as well. Appreciate MSI sponsoring the channel, and I appreciate you all being awesome viewers. I love making this content for you every day. It's a pleasure. If you enjoy it, make sure to subscribe. I can keep you in touch with more, and I will see you soon on the next episode.